In the sprawling, sun-drenched landscape of Los Angeles, a shadow was born in the 1960s. This is the story of Barrio 18, a gang that rose from the marginalized corners of the city to become a transnational criminal empire, only to face a dramatic downfall. Our journey begins in the Rampart district, where a group of youths, rejected by the established Clanton 14th Street gang, decided to forge their own path. They sought a community, a sense of belonging that was denied to them. What they created, however, would grow into something far more formidable and notorious. The name Barrio 18 itself is rooted in geography, named after 18th Street, the heart of their original territory. But unlike the exclusive, purely Mexican-American gangs of the era, Barrio 18's founders pioneered a new model. They opened their doors to anyone who felt like an outsider: Central Americans, other Latinos, and individuals from various ethnic backgrounds. This multi-ethnic approach was revolutionary for its time and became a key factor in their rapid expansion. It wasn't just about territory anymore. It was about building a diverse, sprawling network of members who shared a common sense of alienation and a thirst for identity. As the gang grew in numbers, so did its criminal ambitions. What started as petty crime and street-level turf wars soon evolved into sophisticated criminal enterprises. By the 1980s and 90s, Barrio 18 was deeply entrenched in drug trafficking, extortion, and money laundering. Their influence spread like wildfire across Los Angeles County, with their presence marked by violence and intimidation. Businesses were forced to pay renta, a form of protection money, and neighborhoods lived in a constant state of fear. The gang's reputation for brutality became its calling card, a tool to maintain control and expand its operations. A pivotal moment in Barrio 18's history came with a major shift in U.S. immigration policy. Throughout the 1990s, the United States began deporting thousands of convicted felons, including many high-ranking and hardened Barrio 18 members, back to their home countries in Central America, primarily El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala. These nations, often still reeling from civil wars and political instability, were ill-equipped to handle this influx. Instead of containing the problem, this policy inadvertently exported the gang culture of Los Angeles to new, fertile ground. The deported members didn't just disappear, they reorganized. They recruited local youths, many of whom were living in poverty and desperation, and established new cliques, or canches, replicating the structure they knew from LA. This was the birth of Barrio 18 as a truly transnational organization. The gang's expansion into Central America brought with it a new level of violence. A fierce and bloody rivalry erupted with their main competitor, the Mara Salvatrucha, or MS-13. This war for dominance turned entire communities into battlegrounds. The competition wasn't just over drug routes or extortion rackets. It was a brutal contest for reputation and influence. Both gangs became notorious for their extreme acts of violence, using fear as their primary weapon to control territory and terrorize civilians. This conflict destabilized entire regions, leading to some of the highest homicide rates in the world, and forcing countless families to flee their homes, contributing to migration crises. Inside the gang, a clear, albeit decentralized, hierarchy took shape. At the top were the palabreros, the shot callers, many of whom continued to run operations from behind prison walls in both the U.S. and Central America. Below them were the clique leaders who managed the day-to-day activities within their specific territories or canchas. And at the bottom were the homies and soldados, the foot soldiers, who carried out the orders, enforced the rules, and put their lives on the line. Recruitment often started terrifyingly young, with children in elementary or middle school being groomed to join, promised a sense of family and protection that society had failed to provide. The unchecked growth of Barrio 18 and MS-13 eventually forced governments to act. For years, policies were often reactive and inadequate, failing to address the root causes of gang membership, such as poverty, lack of opportunity, and social exclusion. But in 2022, the government of El Salvador, under President Nayib Bukele, declared a state of emergency, launching an unprecedented crackdown. Visquera contra los pandillas, or war against the gangs, led to the mass arrest of tens of thousands of suspected gang members. Police and military forces swept through neighborhoods that had been under gang control for decades. The impact was immediate and dramatic. Homicide rates plummeted to historic lows. For the first time in years, citizens in many areas could walk the streets without fear. Extortion payments, which had crippled small businesses and impoverished families, largely ceased. The crackdown effectively dismantled the gang's command structure on the streets, disrupting their communication networks and operational capacity. The once untouchable leaders were captured, and the rank and file members were scattered and weakened. It appeared to be a decisive victory. However, this victory came at a significant cost. Human rights organizations raised serious alarms about the methods used during the crackdown. The state of emergency suspended constitutional rights, leading to reports of arbitrary detentions, lack of due process, and inhumane prison conditions. Critics argued that the government was trading one form of fear for another, replacing gang rule with an authoritarian state. There are also lingering questions about the long-term effectiveness of this iron fist approach. While the gangs are weakened, the underlying social and economic conditions that allowed them to thrive in the first place, poverty, inequality, and a lack of opportunities for young people, largely remain. The story of Barrio 18 is a complex saga of social marginalization, criminal evolution, and state response. It is a stark reminder of how a search for belonging can be twisted into a cycle of violence, and how policies, both at home and abroad, can have profound and often unintended consequences. From the streets of Los Angeles to the villages of Central America, the rise and fall of Barrio 18 has left an indelible mark on countless lives. While the current crackdown has brought a fragile peace to many, the future remains uncertain. The question now is whether this peace can be sustained, and whether societies can build a future where young people choose opportunity over the deadly allure of the gang. Thank you for watching. If you found this documentary insightful, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world.